recording.
Cool.
It's like, I wish I could be like, we're live, but we're not technically live. But yeah, it's always interesting to start. How are you?
I'm very well.
Yeah.
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm really
Yeah.
happy to be here with you. In studying you and learning more about you, it's been such a fun journey to take you in. And I really, first of all, I want to start with congratulations because you're a new daddy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
married this
He's
year too.
yeah, lots of changes.
Yeah.
Both welcomed and unwelcome with all the COVID stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
um yeah, no, our son is just over 9 months now, and we've been married since August, the end of August. So yeah, life is great.
It's so
Life is
exciting.
wonderful.
How is it? I feel like becoming a parent has to put a new fire in you. And you,
It definitely does. It what it does is it basically changed mine. I can't speak for everyone. Changed my perspective on success and changed my perspective on what it means to be responsible for somebody else. Obviously, a newborn can't really do anything besides just be there. And so the immediate, responsibility is there, but also the long term of just planning, financial planning, life planning, trying to be active in their life as much as I am in mine, but still giving myself the leeway to explore different avenues of my personal life.
Yeah, it's a lot. Two of my brothers are, first of all, we both come from a family of 5 siblings, which is awesome.
Okay.
A little bit at reverse. So 2 older sisters and 3 younger brothers in my family. That was one thing that I really, really, I just loved about you is that you are all family. You have all these tattoos that are very symbolic with, towards your family, which it really moved me. And yeah, but 2 of my brothers, are fresh daddies. And it's just been so rad to, first of all, become an aunt to, my little niece and nephew, but to witness them become a parent. It's a lot. And they're all like, just how you have to go from being so focused on self to what you just said, like this whole responsibility, up leveling that is not just in the immediate. It's this, you're looking at life, like the trajectory in a different way. And it's a lot of amazing.
If you don't have anxiety before you become a parent, you definitely develop a little bit of it once you do. But I had some great role models. Of course, my parents, aunts and uncles, but also I'm the youngest of 5 in my family. So all my older siblings, for the most part, have kids, minus my one sister. But I got to see them from when I was 16 was the first grandchild. My second oldest sister had her first, and then just kind of started coming. And ours is number 10 for my mom and dad. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, it's been a lot. And my mom ran kind of a daycare out of our house since I was, I think, 1 or 2 years old. So I've been around babies pretty much all my life, and it's been awesome. It's been fun, but still does not prepare you for when it's yours. You definitely, all the things you say you won't do as a parent, you have such an inclination to go and spoil them and baby them, but you have a connection with your child, and what people might perceive as spoiling or babying them, you sense something in them. And yes, it can develop to that, but as long as I think my wife and myself have a pretty good grasp on what it means to be a good parent, and again, both had good role models and also examples of what not to do and what we feel strongly just with our personal views.
Yeah, that's beautiful. When I think about your upbringing and being a family of 5 siblings, and then you just expanding on that, and like all the kids, like you one of the other things that really stood out to me that I really appreciated is you are such a team player, and listening to you talk about your sport, it's like, that is something that is so, it's like what a lot of what drives you, right?
Yeah. I mean, I used to sneak away from my family all the time. I definitely like my alone time, and I like quiet. My grandmother lived not too far away from where I grew up, and I would go over to her house in the summer all the time to just get away. And she sat in her kitchen, watched her soap operas, and I sat in the living room and either took a nap, watched TV or whatever. And she'd poke her head in and be like, "Hey, how you doing? You need anything?" But I'd do chores around our house. But for sure, you're forced into being a team player, especially being the baby of the family. You can't go anywhere without somebody else. And even if I didn't want to go to my sister's volleyball tournaments or basketball tournaments, like, hey, I couldn't stay home alone, so I had to go. And I think it's ingrained in you. But then also, being part of a team, finding that success through group and, the team effort, chemistry, everything that can come from being part of a team.
Yeah.
I think it's nothing but beneficial for life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Something that really resonates with me, because not just even in the family aspect of it, but I really identify myself as a team player, period. So, it translates into every relationship that I have that really matters to me, be it business, friendships. It's like, that's who I am and how I show up. And I'm very proud of that. It's like almost like a standard at which I hold myself to. And that for sure was developed and fortified through this, through my family and our interactions together. Like, we're a tribe. And so I wondered, and I felt that, that would have most likely have been the case for you too, that a lot of your, the coming from a big family and having that connection really did play into how you operate as a team player in your sport, in volleyball.
Yeah, I think what it has instilled in me is kind of a passion and a love. And I mean that in a way of, when I'm part of a team, I think you get the best results out of people by just showing compassion and love. And by putting all of yourself into it, it in a way entices them to do the same.
Yeah.
And I think something we developed with Team USA, and a lot of it goes to our coach and his practices, but we've developed a family feeling on the court. And it's just another level of depth into what our team is, but also the motivating factors in our team, because we understand that, I'm not playing just for me now. I'm not playing just for you. My family's behind me. And although this is fun and it is sport and there's so much joy that comes from it itself, it's our livelihood. And when you can feel that weight of what it's like for your teammate to compete for this medal or this prize, what it may be, it's incredibly motivating to me. And although it was more personally driven, like we talked about before my wife and son came around, it's a whole new level. It's crazy. I don't really know how to say it, but there's just so much more now.
Well, I mean, yeah, there's a lot there to pull apart. First of all, I can only imagine. Second of all, it makes me want to talk about this pivot that you've had to adapt to and to be agile with, which is the pivot of, you were on your way to the Olympics and then you're not. And then this whole year, so gnarly. You have really had a year.
Yeah. It's been nuts.
It's like, can we talk about that for a moment? Because first of all, you pretty much play all year round from what I learned, right? Which is gnarly.
Traditionally, yeah.
Traditionally.
And this year is definitely an exception to it, but yes.
Has that been a little nice for you to kind of take a break for a moment, even though it wasn't
It was a welcomed break. I think something that I've been toying with in my brain about my career and elongating it as much as possible, but also still keeping that fire and passion there, was to take some time off away from the game. And I found out pretty quickly into quarantining at home that I wasn't ready for that break. Competition is something that you have to train, and I was definitely trained for it. So that being said, like, I needed an outlet for it, and frustrations came up, and just wanting to go work out and not being able to. It's volleyball is both a passion and also a very big stress relief for me, because it's something I believe I'm very good at, and allows me to go excel and be critical of myself without bringing myself down. So having 6 months off, 7 months off from it was wonderful. It really allowed me to be an all-in dad and an all-in partner for my wife. So it was great. But that being said, I am really ready to get back and start competing and training really hard.
That's rad. And you're getting ready to go, right?
Yeah, it's I'm waiting on my visa essentially for China to get tested and then get on a plane and get over there.
And do you feel, it sounds like you feel really confident about like you're ready to go. And so despite all the craziness of this year, you're locked in. And
yeah, I think I am.
Yeah.
I believe I am. I want to play again. I want to at least feel that thrill. I got to play just myself out in California for a few weeks of just being on the court myself and one coach.
Oh, wow.
And it was fun, but having that team camaraderie, that collective push towards something, it's missing a little bit in my life.
Yeah.
For the sport, obviously life has been great here.
Yeah. No, I get it. There's so much connection there, but do you, how long do you go away for?
Yeah, the season in China is really short, and what they're doing is they're basically creating what the NBA had down in Florida, a bubble for all the teams to go into, all the referees, all the officials to go into, and we're going to be training and competing right there in the bubble. It's their way of keeping the COVID-19 stuff exposure as low as possible. But traditionally, we go overseas after the national team season finishes, which is end of September, October, in that range.
Okay.
The exception is the Olympic year, which usually ends the end of July, early August, and then by the beginning of September, you're usually overseas. And then it'll go all the way through May, and then it's a couple of weeks if you're lucky, and you go right to the national team. I think the last few years have been pretty grueling for a lot of guys, myself included, with Champions League going up until the end of May, and not even 5-6 days later is the first competition for the national team. So there's really been no break for a lot of guys, and it's been pretty grueling. And the women too, sorry, on that side.
Yeah. No, that's heavy. It's a lot of time away from your loved ones. And I want to talk about sacrifice with you, because when I giggled a few minutes back, it was because I have in learning more about you, your whole life, or not whole life, but for the better part of your life, you have been living abroad, traveling the world, constantly away from your loved ones. And that takes I know with Carrie, my best girl, and we were so tight, and just, being a witness to her throughout these last couple of Olympics, and what it takes to leave her children and her husband. Like, it is the gnarliest thing for her. It's so hard. But she has deep purpose, obviously, and doing what she does. And it supports that hard, that it's ultimately a sacrifice. And so I would love for you to talk about that sacrifice, and really what goes hand in hand with it is this deep level of commitment.
Yeah, I think something I saw many years ago was basically said, like, if you ever want to find out who you are, shine a mirror on the people that you hang out with most often, right? So like the people you surround yourself with are the people who eventually you take on their values, because you surround yourself with like-minded people. Mm-hmm. For better or worse, that's what you do. You gravitate towards them. And so me priding myself in my family isn't because they're my family, so to speak, but it's because I share very similar interests and values with them. And having that deep relationship connection with them allows me to succeed and do what I do. Now, part of being away from them makes it difficult to keep those relationships really strong. And it takes effort, concentrated effort in reaching out and not just letting it be a message here and there. It's having a full-on conversation and getting into the deep, heavy stuff that, let's be honest, is not comfortable to either speak about or to listen to. But that's part of being in a relationship. That's part of being in a family, in my mind. And so if we can rewind my career a little bit back to 2015, it's pretty well documented out there that I was playing for one of the best teams in the world, playing for Team USA and thriving in both teams. And I just up and left. I quit. I stopped because I turned into somebody I didn't like. And part of that is I lost those relationships, and they weren't as strong for me as I wanted them to be, or as I needed them to be who I wanted to be eventually down the road. And so I needed to take some time away and explore that. And it was really hard to pull back the levels and the layers of I wouldn't go as far as to say like disgust in my behaviors, but just not as proud and honored to say that's who I was. So it was an extremely humbling experience. I had to, again, address a lot of things that were wrong with myself. And if you've ever done that, it's not an easy thing. And it's not easy to ask anybody to do that either. If you've ever been in a relationship with somebody who is, in your mind gone astray, to confront them about it, it's sometimes even more difficult. But being away is not an easy thing. And again, the word sacrifice, I think, is great. It really encompasses what it means. But I'm part of a career path that allows me to actually bring my family with me. So when I do go overseas now, my wife and son can come with me. Unfortunately, this year in China, they can't because of the bubble and the regulations. But like the guys that are over playing in Italy and Poland and Paris and all those places overseas, they're allowed to bring their family with them, which is great. Yeah,
that's awesome. I want to go back to that for a second, because it takes a lot of courage to pull out, especially, at that point. When was Rio? I can't, because
2016.
Oh, okay. So you took the break right before.
Yeah, I think so. No, sorry, it was 14, 15. So it was the November 2014. I'm sorry, it was that year, and then it was right after World Championships. I stayed over in Europe, and then went right to Russia to play for my team. And then I was like, I'm done with this. So I flew home. I got home the beginning of November, had Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's at home. And then by the end of January, I was back overseas playing with the same team.
So was there any fear in that step away? Yeah. Can we talk about that? Because what I want to really expand on here is, you were so right when you said like that is not easy for an individual to do, like to face yourself. You faced yourself with authenticity, and you were prioritizing, your relationships and like things that were so much more, not just the relationships, it sounds like, with others, but really the relationship with yourself. Right. And to have to be so real with yourself in that moment. I mean, and you are like a winner times infinity squared. Like you are a winning winner. I don't know how to say it loud enough. And so, to step away from volleyball at that point and all your, all the winning and all the things that were coming with that part of your career at that point, to honor this truth that you felt about yourself and how it was affecting the rest of your life. Like that takes so much courage. And I think it's something important to put out in the world, because there's so many people who, different life and career and all that, but will find themselves in similar situations and don't respond and face themselves in those moments. And then it's like, becomes dangerous and toxic, but you opted into you. And I would love to just kind of pull on that a little bit more and talk about like how that fear felt for you and what your process was to really say, I might be afraid, but I'm going towards it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think what needs to be said first is I was very fortunate to be at a spot financially and had the luxury to honestly just stop working for a little bit. And I know that a lot of people out there that have these issues, that have these anxieties and feelings of depression and just hardships they don't have the luxury to just stop. And, I do feel for them. But there are things out there for people in those situations. But to speak specifically of the fear that I had was I had to weigh the option of being okay with myself and never playing again. So I wasn't able to unpack mentally if me being who I was at that moment, at that point in my life, was generated by playing volleyball. And if I continued to play volleyball, if I was just going to end up back in that spot. And was I willing to give that up to be somebody I liked? And it took a while, because that part of that time in my life, I was living a great life as a single guy. I was 27, 26 years old and just loving life from the outside, from the exterior, but it was definitely weighing on me and weighing on my heart and soul. And it was a couple conversations with John Spera and my brother and my sister, and just basically an oh shit moment, a growing up moment. A quote from a movie. I forget the name of the movie. Maybe it's called The Rookie. Dennis Quaid's a baseball pitcher. Basically says like his dad is this hard Texas man that's like, it's okay to do what you want to do until it's time to do what you have to do. And part of me knew that I had to stop playing. I had to figure out who I was personally, because I felt if it wasn't volleyball that was making me into that person, if I can make my person great again, it's only going to reflect in the way I play and the way I can play and give to my team and give to myself. But that fear is real. That fear it's something that I struggle with even now, because you still have to stay in check with it. You still have to make sure that it's worth it. And I can't tell you how many conversations I had with my wife in the last 2 months about going away for 3 months. It's raising our son is going to fall on her shoulders, and it's going to be really hard. And I understand that. I mean, just being home with the two of us, with him for as long as we have, it's not easy. We're both exhausted, but it's worth it. It's worth it in the long run.
Well, that's, you obviously have a very, powerful team dynamic with your wife as well. 'Cause that is hard. I mean, your baby's brand new. It's like,
it's not like it's our third baby. It's not like our third or fourth baby where we've been through it and we understand it. And, yes, we are understanding of the fact that it's going to be difficult. And that's pretty much what we know right now. And just trying to take everything with a grain of salt, for another cliche to throw out there, but it's going to be hard.
Yeah. Well, you said something a minute ago that it was like the perfect segue to want to ask you, How did that break affect your game when you came back to it?
Yeah, so arguably started playing the best volleyball in my life. It wasn't pretty in the beginning, that's for sure. If you ever take 3 months off, I'm anxious to see what I'm going to be like when I go back to China. But I did not play well right in the beginning. But once I got into the flow of it, it just gave me a whole new appreciation for it. So like really getting into the hard days of training when you're extremely sore. You have another match in 2 days and you know that you have to work hard, but like read pretty gave me a good mantra to kind of live with training is bookend it, know that go into each day, starting at 9, finishing at 2 p.m. Like these 5 hours, I need to work my ass off. And, 2 hours into it's going to be hard, but even 3 hours into it's going to be hard, but you're going to be able to do it because you're trained to do it. And so I was able to bookend it and really give everything I could into that. And that's what started one of the best runs professionally that I think that if a modern day team has had with Kazan, my team in Russia. We won 4 Champions Leagues in a row. We won the Russian League 5 years in a row, Russian Cup 4 years in a row, something like that. Like we went on a tear. Yeah. National team, we won World Cup for the first time since the 80s, and we went to the Olympics and won a bronze medal. So, I mean, crazy run.
What a powerful chapter of your life. And I imagine that all of those wins had to have felt so much better internally because of the work that you had just done prior to, in that break for yourself.
Yeah, I think what it did was it solidified my decision. It reinforced that what I did was for the better. And on top of the fear back in that time when I was making that decision, you have everybody in your life, that superficial life, telling you don't do it.
Yeah.
Why would you quit? You're playing for the best team. You're making the most money. You're living the life. You have everything at your fingertips. Why would you stop? Well, because I don't like it. I don't, this doesn't mean anything to me if I can't go home and look myself in the mirror and be happy with what I just did. So, it definitely made all of that worth it. It makes me more proud to share the story about it.
Yeah. There's so much substance there that there's so much more fulfillment. And what I love too is like, you really have done a great job from, a lot of people become their work. That's dangerous.
Oh, sure, because then you who you are rests in the balances of like success or not success. And it's like, you can still be successful and not win. You can still be successful and not be a multimillionaire living in Malibu. Like there's a lot of versions of success, and what you value, I think, comes into question, and how you hold those values to be true, and how you hold yourself accountable to that. That's what you need to explore as a person. And it's hard to do when you're 22 and 25 and don't necessarily have a wealth of life experience. Part of what you talked on earlier about is I've been gone since I went to college. I mean, at 17, 18 years old, I started traveling internationally with USA teams and started to experience different parts of the world and different ways of life. And that just started to build the experiences for me. And I was kind of thrown into the trenches when I went to Korea for my first year professionally, thinking, oh, I'm going to be like an NBA star, right? I'm going to get paid to go play volleyball and live this wonderful life. But you're training 6 days a week, 2 times a day. Sometimes you don't get a day off. I mean, I got 1 day off a month for my first 8 months as a professional, So you're thrown into it and you're on somebody else's schedule, and it's just hard.
Yeah.
But it can be so beautiful and wonderful of a life experience if you allow it to bloom and grow into this this thing that you think it can be.
Yeah, well, that makes me inspired to ask you about the skill transfer. In my life, hard, my mind literally thinks, when I hear challenge and hard, I'm like, ooh, opportunity for potential victory, inward, outward, opportunity for growth. And so, and challenge is a through line in my life. Some of it was environmental when my upbringing as a child, but a lot of it, especially these days, is like, I have this whole kind of campaign under my brand called Seek the Fight. And so it's like moving towards these challenges that stand guard at, the things that you desire for yourself, for your life, and going into the arena and essentially like going into battle. Right. And so, and I've succeeded a lot of those challenges. As an entrepreneur, you face them every single day. Right. And so coming back to you and the skill transfer. So when I think about, like this year is crazy, 2020, all the things, the skill transfer of you facing the challenge has to be pretty strong. Like you just said, like there's been moments where you don't even have a day off, and you have to be so resilient. How is that? Let's talk about the skill transfers from mindset that, affect your life off the court.
Yeah. So I think there's two versions I have, and I'll talk. It's pre-quitting and post-quitting. Pre-quitting, I couldn't turn it off. Something as simple as playing a friendly game of ping pong in my basement. It wasn't friendly, I felt a visceral response to that competition, and that's not healthy in my mind. I think it's if you and your friend are getting into it and it can be playful, yes. But something as simple as not wanting to lose to my older brother, besides it being my older brother, like I said, a visceral response to competition was extremely unhealthy, because if I lost, the way I acted versus the way I won, if I won in the way I acted, we're just polar opposites, and it made it not fun to be around me. And I understand that. Now, skills transfer to everyday life now. I mean, yeah, I love it. I embrace waking up early. I force myself to try to go to bed early, because I know that when I get up early and I can get things done, it's just so much more accomplishing. This feeling you get inside of like, wow, that was a day. The Jimmy V speech about like the 3 or 4 things you got to do in a day to have a day, like laugh, cry. There's a couple other things. And it's like, but that's a day, man. Shoot, if you can get a lot of things done, that's great. That skill transfer, like you said, about like that embracing that challenge of you can't do this. Well, I'm going to show you. I mean, maybe not. Maybe I can't, but I'm going to try. I'm going to try to go up this hill. I'm going to try and carry this sled with me. If I don't, I'll get halfway, and tomorrow I'll try and get 3/4. Everything doesn't have to be done in one day, in one try. And I think part of a team thing, part of, the Olympics being every 4 years is great, because it gives you the time we're trying to get 1% better, maybe 0.5% better today than we were yesterday. And there's going to be setbacks and there's going to be hard times, but that challenge, if it took you 4 years to do one thing, and on day 1 of year 4, you accomplish it, that satisfaction, you get 4 years of satisfaction in one day.
Totally.
There's no wonder we as athletes celebrate when we win, because it's not about that one win. It's about everything that came before it. And it's hard to explain if you've never really done it, but it's like Christmas morning for a year, because nobody else is going to win that championship for another year. So you get to carry that with you for an entire year. And I use it as motivation because that feeling it doesn't come around very often. And your chances to get it are even slimmer because everyone that is in your field is going for it too. But to be able to have something that you remember and look back on, and hopefully I'll be able to share some of these stories with my children and they'll value it.
Yeah.
And I don't want them to rest on it, be like, oh, dad did it, I can do it too. Like, no, you got to work hard, and it's not going to be easy. But yeah, that finding that success through that challenge is just, it's incredible.
It's oh man, it's so powerful. That was a powerful piece right there that you just dropped on us. I love it. It inspires me to want to ask you about failure. And how do you respond to failure? What does failure mean to you?
Yeah. Okay. So failure is not easy either, but it's motivating in a different way. I think to become an elite athlete in any sport, you become somewhat of a perfectionist. So there's a couple ways you can view failure. You can use it as like a way to say, okay, I'm done. I can't do this. I'm done. Like, go away. I'm not going to go down that road anymore. Or you can say, the old saying, like, can't go through it. Okay, I'll go over it. Can't go over it. Okay, I'll go under it. I'll go around it. You'll find a way. And I think that's the mindset you have to have when you go into these long training blocks and going through a harsh tournament. World Cup is something that we face every 4 years. It's the year before the Olympics. Traditionally the first tournament to qualify for the Olympics, but it's 11 matches in 15 days against the top, 15, 16 teams in the world. So like, it's not an easy task. And so using failure, because you're going to fail more than you're going to succeed. I think most people in the world know that. There are exceptions. There are outliers that somehow succeed and just go and go and go. But one of the best athletes in my lifetime has been LeBron James. And how many times has he gone to the finals of the NBA consecutively? And how many times has he lost? But it doesn't deter him. And so that loss, those losses, those Olympic losses for me, those World Cup losses, championship losses, are nothing but a stepping stone to accomplishing my all-time goal, which is to be happy with my effort. And so basing your success off my effort, basing my success off my effort and my attention in the hardest of days is what I really strive for. So failure in an actual competition, yes, it's hard and I'm going to wear it heavy, but it's not going to define who I am. I think it's easy to say because I have had success, but that success is nothing but put those failures into perspective of what they've done for me. And at times I've treated them as something to, like, I'm not going to watch the Olympic matches that we lost because that's just hard and I don't want to do that. But I don't forget them. I don't forget. I mean, I can probably play that match in my brain every point because I remember that.
Yeah.
Versus, I don't really remember the match that we beat Brazil in the Olympics to like go to the next round. Like, had no idea. But I remember every point against Italy in both Olympics is that we've lost at them. So it's motivating in a different way.
Yeah. No, totally.
Definitely puts the success, like I said, into a perspective.
It's so important to, and I know, and I appreciate that so much because one of my favorite quotes ever is from Thomas Edison, the light bulb, where he says, I haven't failed to make a light bulb 10,000 times. I've successfully learned how not to make a light bulb. Yeah. And it's so badass because there are so many moments in my, life and business where it's like, man, when things are just hard and you feel like you're coming up short. And I think of that quote. I'm like, imagine if Thomas at light bulb attempt, 1,500 523 was like, nah, I can't, that is resilience to just, and I think in another piece that was so rad that you put in there, it's like, what's really powerful is to take those hits, not let them define you, but also not let them take away the fire in you and take away that, like you said, it's like a different form of motivation. Because that it could easily, it's such a mindset game, right?
Yeah. I think it's okay to put things down for a little bit. Part of a reset, whether it's just, from Tuesday to Wednesday morning, using that time away from your training or your office, whatever your business may be, to really let it be. And that's that bookend of, okay, at 2 p.m., I'm done for the day. If I want to revisit it at 6, 7 at night before I go to bed or whatever it may be, go ahead. But to have it in a healthy way, if you find yourself not being able to turn off what you're doing, maybe take a personal day,
Yeah.
Relax, go drink a cup of coffee and read a book, journal. No. I don't know go for a walk. Yeah. Go, okay. Whatever you gotta do.
It's so good. You're hitting some sweet spots for me that I want to talk to you about. I would love to, first of all, just talk a little bit about your day to day. Like, what is your morning like? Do you have a morning ritual? What's your evening like? Because these hard stops are so not just important for your performance in your sport, in my, business, but really for overall health, wellness.
So I don't necessarily have I need to wake up and I need to go meditate for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, or I don't have set times where I need to do things. I have a feeling in me that says, hey, I need to get some thoughts out. And my wife has been wonderful for communicating and poking and prodding me when I need to talk about certain things, and being a great listener. But when she's not around, or it's just not possible to have that interaction, journaling has saved me in many, many ways, because it's put my thoughts into something tangible. And if you can journal without criticism of yourself and just explore why these thoughts are coming up, it takes practice. I think meditating has offered that to me in some times in my life, but I'm not really for it. I'm not against it. I'm just not an advocate of, waking up and exploring your thoughts. Why do you have these things? So because my brain works a little bit differently in that way, I believe. But writing and becoming something you can feel. It's like why I like reading an actual book versus an e-reader. It's actually there, and I can lose myself in it, and I can lose myself in my thoughts by writing them down, and really explore the levels and why am I feeling this animosity towards this person or towards this event, or why am I nervous? I am trained to do this. What is happening? What's underlying and creating this push against it? But I mean, I love a cup of coffee in the morning. And so luckily here, I enjoy waking up early, like you, and maybe not 4 a.m., but before the sun rises, usually I'm up, and that's okay because my son gets up. And so a lot of times in the morning, we get a good hour and a half together, just the two of us, and being able to see just him growing and adapting and challenging himself. Like right now he's standing, he's trying to stand on his own. He's crawling and he's trying to get all these things, but allowing him to do that, there's a lot of hesitation in me because I don't want him to fall and get hurt, or I can just hand this to you, dude. Like, here you go. Versus him learning it. And so I'm using my son. It sounds a little weird, but I'm using him to kind of give me some clarity in certain things. And, the evening is really important for me to like kind of debrief, but just look back at my day. What happened today, and is there anything I need to talk about? Is there anything I need to listen to about with my wife? And we have usually a good. Sometimes it's only 2 minutes. You know, sometimes it can be an hour and a half of us just unloading our day into each other, and because we are together, we experience most of the day together. But there's times where we definitely see things differently. I think that's okay. And it needs to be discussed.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I really answered your question there.
No, you did. It's all a journey. It's just, it's interesting because it's, you know, it's fun to tease apart someone like yourself who is just living a life of excellence, really. What is your day-to-day like, you know, and everyone's is so different. And, you know, like I know in my own life, I get tired when my circadian rhythm is really healthy, right? And I get like when the sun sets, like I start to set too, you know? And it's funny because sometimes friends playfully have made fun of me. I'm like, you're going to bed at like 8:30. I'm like, you guys, here's the thing. I have used my mind, my heart, and my body, very physical, you know, lots of different modalities of movement. I should be tired, but it's this fulfilling kind of tired. It's not, you know, because there's a difference. And so it's just, it's fun to explore people like yourself, like your actual process. And I do, if you're okay with that, I really want to talk about journaling for a second more, just because it is so, it is so powerful. I have over 20 years of writing in my home, and it started before that, but I've moved around the world. And so I, you know, lost journals along the way. But, you know, one of the things that is so obvious about you is you have a very deep and powerful sense of self-awareness. And that is, in my opinion, one of the most important assets to a being's, like, just to be here and to really be alive. And I have found that my self-awareness has been developed and fortified through this place that I call my favorite room, which is my journal. So I would love to just kind of learn, when did you start journaling, and how is journaling, if it has, supported you? And it may be a little redundant. I know you talked about it a bit, but like, I imagine if you're on the road and you seem like someone who you need time with yourself in those moments, have you gone to your journal?
Sometimes. I really started, and I wrote through a few journals pretty quickly when I first quit, when I first stopped and really started doing this self-reflection. I started going to a therapist, and one of their first things was, do you journal? Do you put your thoughts down? Because, I mean, I would get there. So if my meeting started at 3, and from 3 until 4, like, it was verbal diarrhea just coming out and coming out. She's like, you obviously have a lot of stuff to say and a lot of feelings and things to explore. So write them down. You know, you don't always have to come in here and talk. You can, if there's somebody you want to talk to, or you just want to get your thoughts down and see if you actually want to say these things to people, write them down, see what happens. And I was very reluctant to do that. Mainly I have chicken scratch, so I couldn't read it. But once I started understanding how I actually write, and I think it actually made me a better communicator, because when you don't have all these thoughts flooding your brain constantly, you can think clearer and you can formulate thoughts better. There's not things necessarily like impeding on one thought with another. Unfortunately, like, we can't really control the thoughts we have. Right. That's part of something I've learned through the meditation practices, but paying them respect and being able to move on to something else has been huge. And I think journaling has helped me with that. Yeah. I'm not as consistent as I'd like to be. And I think that's part of times when I have like some flare-ups of frustration and inability to pay attention and focus. But when I do have the time to, or I make the time to write it, it definitely reflects in my day-to-day life. I think an important thing to know about journaling is you don't need a book and a piece, like a pen and paper. Everyone has a phone that has a notes in it, for the most part. And you can be mentally journaling. I mean, I think a lot of times if you can just lose yourself in a thought, go for a walk. And if you're out there and you're like, whoa, if you're driving home sometimes and you're like, how did I get home? You're kind of mentally journaling there. You're kind of on this journey in your head of like, I need to get home, but this really bothered me today. And like, you're paying attention, but you're not really there. And I think it's happened to most people that have driven home sometimes. And it's a way to unload things that are clouding your mind and clouding your judgment and not allowing you to be you and be in the moment.
Yeah. It's so good. It's so good. And really connects with yourself in a deeper way, and that is so important. You want to move through life feeling very self-connected, understanding who you are, what's important to you, and all the things. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, because it's so special. And it's not, there's so many brilliant people who validate journaling. When I was younger and I started journaling, it wasn't this high performance tool. I wasn't going to it to write down my goals or anything. It was like, I craved this space to be in with myself. And that was how I was able to do it. And, so it was never a chore. It was just always a deep love. And I
think a really cool quote and something that I try to base most of my goals on and kind of live my life with a certain type of passion towards something. And it was Maya Angelou who said, like, people won't remember what you did or what you said, but they'll remember how you made them feel. So part of my team that I try to work towards and try to, portray in my career and part of the way I live my life with my wife and my son is I don't ever want to leave a room or a match or a training gym without people feeling that like I brought something to their life today. And it could be as simple as a hello. And it could be as simple as going to the supermarket and saying hello pleasantly to the greeter. Everyone has crap going on in their lives, and just look at your own family and how many issues your brother or your sister have, and but you're still able to have a conversation with them and make them feel better about their life. But that's everybody in the world. Everybody has something. Even the most successful, most wealthy people have something going on, and it's easy to judge, it's easy to criticize, but sometimes taking the high road that we talk about is harder, and it's more fulfilling in my life.
Yeah, no, that's so beautiful. I have this saying where, it's really beyond a saying. It's a belief that, we are all an experience. It's ultimately what we are. So, you're giving me an experience. I'm giving you an experience right now. We're giving our listeners and our watchers an experience. And so when you think about that, it's like, it's exactly what you said. It's like you go into a room, like, what was the experience that you gave to those in the room? And it's a giggle inside when you were talking about the person at the market, because I actually use the example of like when you go to buy your coffee at the coffee store and the person there is usually, oftentimes, not always, but like there's a lot of autopilot, like, hey, how's it going? How's your day? And then when you show up and you're present and you're like, I'm great, or whatever, I'm good. How are you? And it snaps them out. Like there's a moment of acknowledgement, and it does something for them. Like I've experienced this in my own life, and it just really, it puts this concept of, we individuals are an experience, and there's a beautiful responsibility that comes with that, that you're either conscious of and you take on and you honor, or you're not aware of, or but you're very conscious of that, and it means something to you. And there's a quote actually I'm going to read I want to be regarded as one of the best players ever, but more so, I want to be regarded as one of the nicest people you'll ever meet, someone that works hard but knows how to enjoy life. That's really powerful. And
Yeah, I remember that interview too.
Yeah.
You're talking about. It
Yeah.
was that right before the Rio Olympics? I was wearing like a white t-shirt, I had a big beard. Yeah, I remember.
I heard it on audio, so I didn't see it on video. Yeah.
Yeah. So part of my thirst for life comes from my dad, and the way he was able to compete really hard. He played in a lot of rec sports. Mostly that I remember is like his softball tournaments, and he was a volunteer fireman, played for like the Volunteer Firemen's League and bar leagues and all this stuff. But he was a diehard competitor through and through. But as soon as the last pitch was thrown, he was the first one to crack a beer with the other team and, and share laughs. And that meant more to him than the competition. And I think that just speaks to the human in all of us. And I was actually going to bring it up about the connection and how you leave people feeling great is think about when you're a kid and the experiences, like when an adult actually listens to you as a kid, like what that means to you and that connection and how that made you feel. Like that's what I try to give to other people. And it doesn't always work. I mean, sometimes, when people try to be nice to me, you're just in the mood and you're like, I can't, I'm sorry, I need to go kind of stuff. I need to check out. But the attempt, and I think we're all just trying to be the best that we can. So to not weigh yourself so heavily and criticize yourself so heavily on one failed, quote unquote, failed experience, there's plenty more to come. But that quote was a really good interview. I remember that one.
Yeah. I mean, you have several, and there's so many more quotes I pulled from, but we don't have enough time. But that quote and everything that you just shared from it's a perfect segue to want to ask you something that I'm so curious about. I think, when you are a fierce competitor, and this is your career, this is your livelihood, like there is responsibility that comes with this. So you take it really serious. You have to. How do you keep it playful at the same time? Because I feel like that's so important, not just for actually how that affects your game, but for you to keep the stoke and the joy in a very healthy place.
Yeah, I think finding levity in something so serious is a necessity, like you said. I think so much of sport is random. I mean, you can train so hard for something to work one way and it just doesn't, or it does 99% of the time. And then that 1% of the time, it's just random, and to understand that it's not just sport that has that, life is like that in a lot of ways. Being able to laugh at yourself. I mean, I'm a professional athlete and I still trip over my feet every now and then because like it just happens, and you have to be able to laugh about it, and you have to be able to be vulnerable for that and know that when other people are laughing, it's not like you got to check your ego at the door in a lot of ways. And yes, ego can be helpful and can motivate and can be a driving force behind your competitiveness. But if it's the only thing driving you, you're such a fragile athlete, you're such a fragile person that laugh is going to literally throw you. And so, I mean, yeah, I've made mistakes on the biggest stage in sports, and to be able to go back and laugh and yeah, I tripped over my own foot, whatever, it happens. But it's not one point, it's not the end of the world. One action is not the end of your life. Doesn't mean you're a failure. It happens to everyone.
So good.
Yeah. I guess being the youngest of 5 will
help you.
Yeah, it really keeps you in check. Like my older brother can just pull up parts of my game and my career and well, you didn't have that one. Like, Yes, I didn't. You're correct. Because it's a fact, it's part of it's what's out there.
Oh, dude, I relate. Like a lot of, it's hard to kind of go, well, where does this come from? This authenticity piece that is just, it's the only way I know how to live. I definitely feel like I came downloaded with it, but I will say that my siblings, especially three brothers, so my brothers kind of trail right behind me in age.
Mm-hmm.
There is no bullshit. Like they will call you on your shit. They don't care.
Mm-hmm.
And when you think about like someone like yourself and you're this mega athlete, I mean, just, and all the people who are loving on you on the external, all the yes people. And then you have your siblings who are like, yeah, no.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's gotta be so helpful to keep you really rooted, right?
Yeah, totally. And exploring those relationships and keeping them strong is what keeps me who I am. And excuse me, it's really fun. I mean, Christmas time in my family, unfortunately, I've been able to be a part of it quite recently,
Mm-hmm.
but there's years where I don't get to see them for Christmas and New Year's, and those moments there's so few and far between that you really get together, and so I think my family does a pretty good job of making a point of getting together when we can.
Mm-hmm.
And then once we are together, just
it's a riot.
Just being each other, just being ourselves. And I mean, my brother has the nickname of Factoid because he likes to think that he knows everything, and it's always great to call him out on something that is not right.
Yeah.
But we don't let that small stuff, we don't sweat the small stuff in front of each other. And I think it's more authentic. Like you said, it's no bullshit. You can't hide behind facades with your family because they've known you forever.
Exactly.
When if you start wearing a hat and you never wore a hat before, like what's going on here? Like that kind of stuff, but also deeper things, like
no, totally.
Yeah.
I just went visual to my family. Like if that happened, like my brothers would be like, "Oh, who are you playing right now?" Yeah. No, it's so good. So I want to ask you, going into the next Olympics, what do you hope for most? Like when you look back of winning gold, what do you want to accomplish?
I'm sorry, you broke up real quick there.
Did I? So I'll start it back from the beginning.
Okay.
So I want to ask you about this next Olympics for you. So the obvious goal is to win gold, right? Mm-hmm. But what are the other things that you aspire to accomplish, whether it's the internal and the external? So if you can fast forward to Olympics are done and you're looking back, like what are those things that you really want to experience, to cultivate?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's besides gold, right? We all want go there
besides gold.
Yeah, we all go there for that. I think it's most of the stuff we talked about in this little chat here is, leaving my teammates feeling better about themselves and better about, the experience. Being able to honestly look at myself and say that I didn't leave anything on the table, win or lose, I put forth my best effort, and that is in the time of competition, but in the preparation leading up to it. And then also paying respect to sport and knowing that sometimes you show up and you can prepare all your life, your 4 years of your quad for this moment. And for some reason that day you woke up and it's just not there. Not using it as an excuse, but paying respect to it and being okay not knowing why. I think we can really get lost in questioning why and everything in life.
Yeah.
But life is random, and as is sport. But the Olympics is such an immense experience that I think you can go to 5 or 6 and really not get everything. So to go to this next Olympics with my previous 2 in my experience bank and learning something new about it, learning something new about somebody random, taking time to talk to people and try to share our thoughts on this crazy experience that is the Olympics.
Yeah.
And I get to hopefully bring my wife and son there. So
yeah. Well, I'm planning to be there cheering on my girl. It's going to be wild, man. Oh my gosh. And especially I think because, this was supposed to happen and then it didn't. It's like, I feel like there's even more momentum of like, you've arrived.
Yeah, totally.
So exciting. Okay. Before we start to do the things that I like to ask my guests in this wrap up, I want to ask you, is there anything that we haven't spoke about that you want to speak about, or something that you wish people asked you about more, that you would like to live in this conversation?
No, not really. I think we touched on a lot of good stuff, but I think I guess there is something, but the small little lessons, that parents and grandparents try to teach you, it's not because they're trying to stop you from having fun or stop you from being a kid. It's just small little mantras to keep in the back of your brain, and like patience and understanding go a long way. And if you can truly engage in someone else's experience, you can find out a little bit about them and find out where they're coming from and why they are a certain way in both the behavior and their thought process. So
it's beautiful.
Be easy on each other. Be easy on yourself.
It's beautiful. Thank you. Okay. So one question that I like to ask all of my guests is, if you had a magic wand and you could offer the masses one habit that would have a large ripple effect, a positive ripple effect on their life, what would that habit be and why?
One habit. The ability to disconnect from yourself. I think if you can see yourself amongst everybody else, it totally gives you a different perspective on your behaviors and your thought process and how you fit into such a massive puzzle. I think everybody has something to offer, but as unique as we are very similar in a lot of ways. And you might be special, you might be told you're special, but in a lot of ways, we're special because of those that are around us, and they make us a bigger institution, a bigger piece to this puzzle. So the ability to disconnect, I think, would have massive, massive effects on the world.
Oh, I agree. That self-awareness piece. It's so huge. I love that. Okay. So the last piece here is I have these rapid fire words, and I just share them. You don't have to be rapid or one word back to me. I love, please elaborate, but it's more of what these words, how they impact you. So what comes top of mind, top of heart.
Okay.
All right.
My best.
Yeah. It's always fun talking to a competitor, because I swear there's like a competitive mode that like I'm about to like throw you fastballs or something. You're all loud. Let's do this. Okay. All right. First word is love.
My wife.
Hard stop.
Yeah. I don't want to go deep into it.
Yeah, no.
Sorry.
Oh, no. I love that. Safe space, vulnerable. I love it. Second word is fear.
My son.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a tough one too. Sorry.
Oh no, there's no sorry. It's beautiful. I feel it. You are love. Like all the research about you, I'm like, God, this guy's got a lot of love that moves through him. A lot of feeling there. So it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's motivating. It's hard. It's hard to talk about, but it's love is awesome.
Yeah, so powerful. Okay.
Sorry, you got me there.
No, it's good. I'm all winning. No, I'm just kidding.
Totally.
Oh, it's so good. Okay. Next word is challenge.
What's next? The biggest challenge in my life right now is not knowing what I'm going to do after. So I think, granted, hopefully, knock on wood, that I stay healthy. I can play for a few more years and be relative in the sport to my standards. But what comes next after that is going to be a massive challenge, and trying to navigate that competitive edge that I talked about into a healthy, habitual trajectory. It's going to take time. I think this break has helped me realize that that's not going to be as easy as I originally thought it was going to be. But like anything else, I embrace a challenge, and as long as I give myself that leeway to understand it's not going to be an overnight thing, and I have a better perspective on that now, I'm ready for it. Yeah. When the time comes. I'm not ready for it right now.
Yeah. Almost, but not quite. Yeah. I love it. Next word is curiosity.
Ooh, I would have to say my son again, because I'm just so curious to see who he's going to become, and really what's going to drive him to be the best that he can be, and what that means to him.
So good. Passion.
Again, my family. I don't know. It's a running theme. My passion is to be with them and to give them the best stage to succeed and follow their dreams.
Yeah, so good. And it's a running theme in my life too. It's literally everything to me. So I relate.
I mean, they've definitely given me my stage to follow my dreams and passions this way. So it's only right in my mind that I do that for them.
I love it. Next word is courage.
Probably I'm going to say my wife and my mom, because they are both in tough situations, and my wife to have the courage to do her life and her passions of photography and being a mom, and to do it alone for the next 3 months is going to take a lot of damn courage. My mom, because she's still rocking it, still being herself, and she's not easy, but she is her person, and to have the courage to be that still.
So good. That's so good. Okay. Next word is one of my favorite words, resilience.
Ooh, that's a good word. Resilience. So I think naturally I gravitate towards people that have taught me a lot about resilience, and for a direct example is the Navy SEAL trip I took with Team USA a few years back, which leads me down another path of family and my cousin who
Yeah, space.
Yeah, he is a veteran. That's the connection. He got a bad motorcycle accident. I'm marking it. But he's coming back. He's working his ass off to find that regular life again, and he's killing it.
That's awesome. Damn, you're gnarly, man. I'm feeling you because I'm such an empathetic individual. I feel energy. It's so, but it's beautiful. It's so real. No, there's no sorry.
I'm back.
Yeah, no, I love it. I wish people didn't apologize as much for feeling, because it's so powerful. No, I know.
It can be a distraction.
It's all good. The final word, also one of my favorites, is excellence.
Yeah. Gosh, pizza. I don't know why that came into my mind. It sounds so stupid, but I think a good pizza is just excellent. It's my favorite food. I go for it most times.
Really?
Yeah. I usually try to get pizza like twice a week, if not 3.
Dude, you just like...
Sorry. That's what I thought. That's what came to mind.
It's so good.
It's such a stupid answer, but
no,
gosh,
it is
good
not.
pizza is good.
It's so good. We're in deep waters, just like 2 seconds ago. Pizza.
Yeah. I mean, a cold beer is nice too. But
oh man, so good.
If you can mix the two, good pizza and a cold beer, sign
winning.
Me up. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, Matt, you are awesome, and I want to take a moment to really honor you as a contributor. You are. This is I mean, obviously our first meeting together, you have certainly, I'm a new fan, and I will be rooting for you all the way to that gold. And I just want to, I want to say thank you for not only this moment and everything that you've shared, so much honesty, so much emotion and passion and vulnerability, but also just how you show up in the world. It's a real contribution because you are showing up with your authenticity and your best, and that is a service to everyone in the world. So thank you.
Thank you for allowing me to explore those feelings and emotions through the show. So it's been awesome. And nice meeting you too, obviously.
Nice to meet you too. I know. Thank you to my girl Carrie.
Yeah.
So where do people stay connected to you? And everything will be in the show notes.
Yeah. Through my social media profiles, I am ashamed to say that I don't interact with most people. And it's not a disinterest in them or, their stories and their thoughts. I try to be connected with those around me as much as possible. And I do try to send some messages back and forth to people, but for the most part, I do read everything. So that is definite. But social media stuff, and then obviously you can follow all my pro team sports and stuff like that through my profiles. I always link it to the teams that I'm playing for and everything like that.
Okay, perfect. And you're leaving soon, right, to China? You're like,
hopefully by the beginning of next week. And it's a few weeks. I got to quarantine there for a couple of weeks, and then it's like a couple of weeks training, and then we just get right into competition.
Go. Okay, amazing.
Ibuprofen, probably.
And pizza.
Hopefully. I don't know. If there's good pizza in Shanghai, people let me know.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Matt. Everybody, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next one.